and other major pairs. And if you look at around the 15-minute time frame, you're going to have a good view as to the day's price action, so you can get used to these characteristics. The indicator that I'm using here is FXN Asian Session Range. This is going to draw these shadows on the chart, which color in the high volume times for each of the different sessions. So we're going to go through and talk over the characteristics that we just discussed in the diagram. The first is going to be the Asia consolidation. You can see through Asia session and leading into Asia session, as we said, volume is low. The market, if averaged out, is going for the most part sideways, okay? So we're not really making too much movement one way or the other. The range is small and there's not going to be really any trading opportunities directly through Asia session. But what we do here is we create liquidity beneath here and above the Asia range. Now, as I said with the characteristics of London, one of the first things you're going to see will be sweeps. So we have a sweep of the Asia low, and then as you can see directly into London open, we get that push of volume. So looking to execute your trades around the open of London, and specifically, especially for the highest probability, once the lows of the Asia range or the highs of the Asia range have been taken. If you line your trade up with a sweep of Asia high or low and the London open, you're going to be able to catch the high volume. So looking in this area, using your low time frame confirmations and entry models will be the best point that you could get into the trade. That's going to lead into London push. And then as you can see, we have a little bit of an interesting day today because after the London push, we slow down and reverse. But then we get that New York reversal where the market picks up its momentum and pushes back to the upside. Now, a lot of times the volume in New York is going to be a bit bigger than the volume in London. That's not to say that London is a bad session to trade, but we just have still some London, UK, Europe based momentum running into New York. And then we also get US, Canada and other momentum in that time zone as well kicking in. So you can see here opportunities wise, sweep of London, London momentum, that's opportunity one. And then into the open of New York, seeing these structural shifts can lead you into that new opportunity to run the market higher following that New York volume. Now, as I say, these are repeated characteristics. They're not perfect every day, but they are going to follow through with the same format. So this day, for example, had a smaller London range. We didn't really do too much in London. We still got the Asia range, but we didn't sweep the high in this instance. London would probably be just a day of flat trading, to be honest, because there really wasn't much to work with here. But we still do get that nice push of volume into New York. And just after the New York Open, we do start to see reversal against the initial momentum of, the rest of the day. Although not the perfect day, still a good solid understanding that the Asia range and the New York momentum would have been tradable there. So this is a nice simple day that follows all of the formats we'd want to see. We have Asia consolidation here. The market then pushes beneath the Asia range. We get the sweep. Looking then at the structure, when we start to shift, this area here would be solid to get into a trade as we drive into the London momentum. We have the sweep characteristic and the pickup of momentum immediately after the sweep. So this would be a solid day of trading through the London push. Now, as you can see, as soon as London starts to slow down and New York session begins, we see that New York reversal coming in. So this day, characteristics followed pretty much perfectly. And again, as we've covered multiple times, and I think we'll see this on previous days as well, solid understanding when New York starts to slow down, so we're coming to about 5 p.m. UK time, the market will generally flatline. So leading into Asia, whole lot of nothing. This next day as well, end of New York, when the session starts to close up, leading into Asia, we get once again a whole lot of pretty much nothing. Following on then characteristics today, Asia consolidation. We get that London sweep and push, so sweep of liquidity, push of momentum. That's a perfect setup for a trade. Slow pullback down, and then this one was a bit of a New York continuation. So you can see the trend didn't really shift here. So rather than looking to sell into that, you would just ideally want to line your trades up with the open of New York to take the market higher. Okay. Again, very clean one here. Asia, sweep of Asia, London push, reverse, New York reversal into there. Okay. New York's a bit slower, but we still get solid footing and then a push higher. And then into the end of New York, we start to flatline, ready for the next day. So these characteristics continually repeat, all right? This one, London driving down quite a lot, so we still get that London push momentum. We don't have Asia sweeps today, but we do then lead into a nice push of momentum again in New York. So a little bit of a messier one in terms of the characteristics, but the important thing to note from all of these, even the ones that don't fit perfectly into the alignment of the characteristics, is we do get that drive of volume at the start of London, that drive of volume at the start of New York. So if you are setting up your trades, your entry points realistically as a day trader will want to be in and around the open points of these sessions. Okay, again, this one not so good, but still London Open, New York Open, solid places to be getting into trades. Okay, so we saw there probably around 60% of the characteristic days worked out. The others were not perfect, but they still provided the London and New York momentum that we like to see. So the important thing to remember here is, as with everything in trading, this is probabilities based. You're not always going to get the perfect characteristics, but understanding repeated patterns will allow you to find opportunities in line with the momentum and the best timings to be executing trades. All right, so we're going to look at trading these characteristics from the perspective of a London session trader. The first thing we want to do is get clear with our Asia range. We see the Asia consolidation has taken place this day. We have the high and the low. We want to mark those out so we're clear with the range we're working with. As we know, the characteristic we focus on with Asia is sweeps. So we like to see the market take out the high and the low of this range. It's not going to happen every day, but it happens very often enough to turn it into tradable opportunities. So we have our high and our low of the Asia range marked, and we can see that the market has taken out the high at this point in time. What that's actually done is fill into this area of supply. So this is basically what was previously a demand zone, but because we gapped down so far, we created a gap. What generally happens is when the gap is filled, so this space here, that's going to be where reversals are most likely to take place. So if we were to see something for reversal here, we could look for an opportunity to sell. As we've seen the high of the range swept, but the low of the range hasn't been swept yet, we could then potentially look to take the market down towards the low, and then of course lower in line with any larger trend, okay? So what we would want to see now would be some form of reversal indication to get us into a position. We can see that we've created this range, the market's pushed up, created this high, and then pushed down and taken out the low. So what we've actually done here is create a new supply zone, which is this indecision candle, that we could then look to sell from. So with this supply in mind, you could then place an order like this to basically sell into this sweep now that we've confirmed a change in that trend, and look to take the market down first of all towards the Asia low, and then second of all to wherever else you might want to take it in the existing trend. So with this big drive down, we've seen a clear break of structure. We could look for imbalanced demand areas. There's one just here. It's going to be that zone just there. That's pretty much the next imbalance. As we can see, there isn't really much going through to that point. So that would be a decent target for us to look for on a trade like this. So what we've got is Asia sweep, and then we've found our reasoning to sell into the Open of London. Now, if a trade can correlate with the Open of London session, you are generally going to be in for a pretty strong, fast move. And seeing as we've swept liquidity, traded into a key area of supply in what is looking like the start of a new, at least on these time frames, downtrending move with this large break of structure down here, created by the gap, we have everything we need essentially to sell into this now. So we can enter there, stop above the high, and then our target, we've just gone for a simple demand zone target. So if we allow the market to play forward a little bit, we see just there we get a tag in, and then the market goes, takes out the low, and then continues down towards the target that we've been looking for, okay? So that would be how you would trade using other concepts like supply and the bigger picture trend, shifting from bullish here to bearish, and then factor in the liquidity around the Asia high, and also factor the timing of looking to get into trades at the London Open. All right, you can see the London Open is just here. That's where the real momentum picked up. So getting in just before that momentum spins into the market allows you to catch a very fast trade in this instance. Now you would then, if you were holding the trade for longer, in this case we weren't, but let's just say we were. If you were holding the trade through for longer, you would then generally want to run this trade towards, realistically, the end of London session, because then you have the idea that we may start to see that reversal coming in. So here we run this trade all the way through to the end of London. That would be where your trade would generally be closed then. It's going to be that candle there. That's the final candle in London session. And then from there, this is where New York reversal is most likely to start taking place, okay? So what you could do in this instance is, if there was reason for reversal, look for an opportunity to start buying into a New York reversal. As you can see, through New York session, we actually see a drive to the upside. Now, on this specific day, I don't see any trades that would have been taken by me in this price action, but maybe you do, okay? We all trade different ways. These characteristics can be brought into pretty much any style of trading that you use. Now, the New York reversal, of course, took place as soon as London closed. We started to move to the upside, and we moved higher through all of New York until, of course, starts to slow down. At this point, we are about to lead into making a new Asia range, and for the most part, this is just going to be the end of day trading for most people while the market consolidates, ready for the next day's price action. But that's an indication as to how you would trade the characteristics. We have number one, the Asia session. This is always going to be range, sweep. Those are the things we're looking for here. Number two, London Open. We factored a trade using higher time frame trend structure, or the bigger picture trend structure, a fill of a gap, test of supply, and then a reversal on this lower time frame to position a trade just ahead of London session. And then as London kicks in, new momentum flows into the market. Of course, we looked at an earlier exit, but if you were holding the trade through, the closing time is going to be around the end of London. You can see as well, the actual end of London session there was literally the entire bottom for the day. That was the lowest price of the day. Okay. Then as soon as that came in, we started to see bigger drives to the upside. Now, of course, these are not the open and close times of the session, but these are the high volume times of each session as we've covered so far. And then from the end of London, we did nothing but go up, indicating that New York reversal. So if you are a trader in the UK or Europe, the best time for you to trade will be to angle trades around the London Open, preferably with an Asia sweep involved. So once the market has taken liquidity above or below the Asia range, selling down or buying up through into the London momentum is going to be the ideal trade. Your goal here is to aim to catch the London push, and this generally is going to be a trading range of between 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. UK time. Now, you can also, or alternatively, trade the New York Open if you're based in the UK or Europe. This is going to be around midday, so 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. UK time. It's going to be a good time to catch that New York momentum. This is also going to be the ideal time to trade for you if you're based in the US or a time zone similar to that, as this will be the early morning for you over in that time zone and will allow you to catch that movement of a reversal or sometimes a continuation. Now, if you plan on trading the London or New York sessions, the best assets for you to focus on, in my opinion, are the major pairs. So some like this. You could trade some variations of these, but these are super solid pairs to trade during these sessions. And a final note to remember is that volume will die out on these assets after New York session. So around 5 p.m. UK time, or when you're coming to the end of the high volume part of the New York session, it's then best to either exit trades or at least limit the risk. So put stops to break even, move them into profit, and then simply avoid taking new trades until the next day. Now, if you're based in the Asia Pacific time zone, London Open can also be traded, as this will be in the evening in the majority of countries in that time zone. But if you want to trade the daytime, just simply avoid London New York session and make sure that you're focusing on assets relevant to the time zone and the area that you're in. Exotic pairs will move better during Asia session. Here's an example of AUD/JPY. You can see the Asia sessions marked in blue create considerably larger movements than the London and New York sessions do. So you can still trade just fine and catch that momentum using opens of different sessions. But for Asia, you want to focus on currencies like the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, and the yen. So to round it up, choosing your window to find your individual perfect trading time, you should focus on where you are located in the world, what assets you are going to trade, and what time of day you will be trading. When you've collected all the information on these things and you've put all of this together, you can focus on catching momentum around session opens, whether that's Asia, London, or New York, using the characteristics I've taught you today. And that will put everything you need together.